What's up, guys? For today's video, I've got a ton of stuff that needs to get on this trailer before I can put the boat back on it. I'm gonna walk you through step by step how I install each and every piece and how I get it configured to work with this boat. I got a lot to get done today, so I'm not gonna waste your time with a long intro, so let's just get right into it. Starting from the front, I have the winch riser and bow stop mount. Behind that, we have a trailer light kit. This is an LED submersible kit, so this will work really good for going in the water, and they won't need to be on those tall posts like they was previously installed on this trailer. Next, I have a boat trailer winch. If you remember from the walkthrough video, the winch was busted along with the trailer jack, so we're gonna be replacing both of those with brand new parts. And in addition to that, I have a new bow stop. This is a 3-piece wedge. That way it will guide the front of the boat into place as you're trailering it. All right, so originally I was gonna start with the trailer lights, but I need to start getting my garage cleaned up for summer, so I need to get this boat back on the trailer as soon as possible. In order to do that, I need to get the trailer jack installed first. That way I can move the trailer around and get the boat put back on and slid back into the garage. Everything else I can still work on with the boat on the trailer. It might be a little bit more difficult, but it's nothing I can't handle. Well, right off the bat, this is an extremely heavy duty trailer jack here. At the top here, looks like it's nice and well greased. There we go. Got our wheel. And we have our mount. Okay, so there's an indent. There's a crimped part of the pole right here. I'm assuming that's where this screw is gonna screw into to lock it in place from spinning. And there's also like a trailer pin set up on it as well. So we will put the bolt on the bottom, slide this over the top. Sorry about the noise today, guys. My neighbor is mowing his lawn for the 3rd time this week. Okay, so we got the trailer pin in, and then this bolt needs to get tightened down. I'm just gonna hand tighten it for now, and then when I have my socket set out, we'll really crank that down. So let's go ahead and move everything over to the trailer. We'll start fitting it up into place, and then we'll get it installed. Maybe we should take the wheel off for now. That might make this easier. Yeah, okay. We can install the wheel back once we have this installed. So we want these 4 holes on the bottom. That way it gives you an adjustment based on how thick your trailer frame is. So the top mounting frame, you attach it to the top single hole section. Now, this can go on the frame. We're gonna go through the hole that matches the bottom of the trailer, which in this case is the 2nd hole for this trailer. And then the lock nut is gonna go on the back side on the bolt we just ran through. Okay. I pretty much want this as forward as possible without covering the serial number plate here. I'm gonna move it to right here. Now, when you're tightening it, you wanna do it evenly, because if you start to pull the top of this out, it will pull the back plate out and it won't mount correctly. Okay, so let's see how that kind of straightened it up on the top. Then now we'll tighten the top down. There we go. Now that side's in, and we're gonna do the same thing over here. I'm gonna do the bottom side first. There we go. Now the plate is secured. It's on there straight. I'll probably come back and give this one more hand tighten with a wrench, and that should be good. So for now, let's just go ahead and get the wheel on. Okay. Okay, got the pin in. That was the hard part, and then now we just gotta tighten this bolt down. Okay, that locks the wheel in place. We can move it around, and then now let's try what's most important. Cranking it up, and there we go. Look at that. Perfectly installed. I'm gonna pop this top cap off and make sure it's really well greased. I noticed there was some grease in there, but I'm gonna add a little bit of marine grease just to make sure this stays nice and easy to use. So to do that, there's this screw on the top. I'm gonna back this screw out. Gonna go ahead and put this down here into the gears. It's hard to do with one hand, but you know, we're getting it. And now we can crank this in. Oh, beautiful. Oh, you can feel it loosen up with that grease too. This is just a maintenance item you want to keep track of. You want to make sure this stays nice and greased, but very nice gear system in there. And then we're just gonna go ahead and reinstall that screw into the cap. And that's nice. I see a lot of boats I get used and that trailer jack is missing that top cap. So it's actually a really smart idea to add the screw into the cap there so it doesn't go anywhere. So that was the Better Boat trailer jack and wheel kit. I really like that it has a ton of stainless steel parts on this. After that installation, I have absolutely no problem recommending this to you guys. I'll have a link in the description for this one. I'm gonna go ahead and throw this boat back on the trailer and then we can work on the next installation. All right, guys, and with that, the boat is back on the trailer. This is honestly a kind of silly, but major milestone in the whole rebuilding of this boat. Next up on our installation is going to be the LED trailer light kit. Let's get this open and see what we're working with here. And also real quick, I'm trying a new location for my mic. I'm not always getting the best audio with it on my shirt. It moves around a lot, and when I lean over, it kind of dangles. And then because it's a magnetic mount, anytime I'm leaning over something metal, the mic is sticking to it. So it's just causing a big problem. I've seen other people put it up here on their hat. I always wear a hat, so that might be a pretty cool idea to do. So we'll see how it works. You guys will have to let me know if the audio sounds any better from this part of the video on. All right, so I'll have a link to this light kit in the description. I ended up buying a used light kit because as long as the lights are in here, I can pretty much make this work. So hopefully there's no issues with it. A lot of times these returns are barely even used. Yeah, this looks completely unused. All right, so we have our wiring harness, perfect. We have our rear lights. No issues there. Side markers. No issues there. This is a license plate mount. There's lights on the bottom of this one here, which would be your left tail light. So if you did want to use the license plate bracket, you could install it along with this, and then this would illuminate the bracket. This is the plug that will plug into the back of your truck. You have a short white wire. This is your ground. You're going to ground this somewhere in the front of your trailer. So this is just going to literally get screwed onto the side of your trailer. Then once we have the lights mounted in the back, we're going to clean off some paint, and this is going to go along the backside here on your bolt, which is then going to ground each light to the trailer. So your trailer itself is going to act as the grounding point between the plug and the lights. The wires themselves will need to be run down each side of the trailer. We will be running the yellow and brown down the one side, and then we'll have the green and brown down the other. And again, these are already joined together. At first, I was going to just zip tie it down the length of the trailer frame and get it installed on the back end. That would certainly be the quickest and easiest. However, it definitely looks the messiest. What I'm going to try and do instead is run the wiring through the trailer frame and have it exit near the rear. At first, I didn't want to attempt this because the wiring in the frame itself was jammed up at some point. I found that there was like a ball of electrical tape and stuck wires, kind of something like this. And once I trimmed that up, it made a lot of the wires pull freely through the trailer. So now what I'm going to do is pull out some of the old wiring, if I can reach it. I might need to push it through from the other end. And then I'm going to tape it to the end of the new wiring and hopefully pull it through. To tape it off, I'm just going to use some electrical tape. I don't want it to overlap with the new wiring. Okay, and now, if you see down here, there is an access port where those wires are sticking out. So now if I pull on these wires, okay, there we go. So now that's coming through on that end. And then there should be our new wiring. There we go. Now we can go ahead and pull the new wiring through. And we want to pull it through enough where we have enough slack on the end to mount our grounding wire. The previous owners of the trailer mounted it to the safety chain bolt. That's actually not a bad spot to do it. Usually I drill a hole and then screw it into the side of the trailer, but I think I'm actually going to copy this here as long as I can get that bolt off. So pulling through about right here gives us more than enough. And now we're going to go ahead and work on routing it through the two frames here. All right, so now I can go ahead and remove it from the first set of old wires and see about taping it to the new ones. Now it looks like I do have access to both here. Oh yeah, look at that. That's got burned up there. That's probably what killed this wiring the first time. Probably shorted out at some point. That's crazy. All right, well, that's why we're doing new wiring and not reusing the old wiring. So I'm gonna tape it off onto this. Now, the big thing when you're wrapping your wires to join them is you don't want the joint too thick so it gets hung up on anything. All right, so I'm just gonna start by pushing the brown wire through, and then hopefully I'll be able to see it on the other end. There we go. All right, now hopefully we'll see the new wire. Yeah, there we go. All right, now we're fully through. So I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna try and straighten this out. It's pretty old wire, so it's more stiff than new wire. See how far we get. Okay, and the next access port is right here, and I think I can just feel the tip of the wire. It got pushed through the perfect amount. There it is. All right, now I'm gonna pull through all the wire to the end here. And then now this side of the trailer is ready for wiring. That actually went way better than I expected it would. I kind of thought that it was gonna get jammed up at some point and I was gonna have to rewire it on the outside anyway. I'm really happy I decided to try this and take the time to do it right. All right, so unfortunately the left side didn't go as easy as the right side. I'm getting jammed up on the left side somewhere. I have this snake wire. I've actually never used it. I bought it for another project and didn't end up needing it. So I'm gonna go ahead and try and use it now. So let's see if this works. Yeah, I mean, with how stiff this cable is, it had no problem going through. I am just going to tie off the new old wire here, and hopefully this just pulls it through. And it worked. Okay, that was awesome. Wanted to get these side markers wired up and installed first. The kit does come with these wire connectors here. You could thread both wires through the center area here and then fold over the clip, which pushes down that metal blade, cuts the two wires and makes a connection. However, that is not a waterproof connection. Instead, what I'm gonna do is use these self-soldering waterproof connections. This way we'll make sure that once the wire is connected to the other, there's no chance of water penetration. It's gonna lead for a much cleaner install and something that's gonna last a lot longer. Okay, so the reason why I'm doing this first is that I need to pull back the length of wire to be able to work with. And I wanted to make sure I had this length available to me before I cut off the excess towards the end of the trailer. We have plenty of excess on the end here, so I'm not worried about pulling some back. I want to make sure I leave a good amount on this side coming in from this end of the trailer, because this side I don't have any extra. This is what leads to the plug in the front, so I don't want to pull back too much of this. With this length pulled back, I'm just going to go ahead and cut the wire about right here. We're going to go ahead and separate the wires here. All right, I'm going to separate the wires on one side and then separate them on the other. First thing I'm going to do is go ahead and rejoin the green wire to itself. We're not going to be tapping into that one. The only wire we're going to be tapping into is the brown wire. So to do that, it'll demonstrate the solder process really easy. I'm going to go ahead and trim back a slight amount of the wire on each side of the brown wire. And I'm going to do the same for the green. If you guys don't have yourself a set of wire strippers, I highly recommend this. Using one of these just makes the process so much easier and also way more consistent. I've had this one for about 4 boat builds now. I'll have a comparable link in the description if you guys want one. But honestly, this thing has been such a game changer for anything wire related. All right, and along that note, we're gonna go ahead and grab ourselves a blue wire connector. This will handle the wire size that we're using. And since I'm not gonna be using the green wires, I'm gonna go ahead and get those soldered back up first, and then we'll deal with splicing in the brown one. So the way these connectors work is you slide it on one side, and then you wanna make sure that the covering of the wire is past the blue circle. That's where the waterproof material is. And you want it to sit right under that band of solder. We're gonna do the same thing to the other side. And then we're gonna push the strands of wires until they're on top of each other. And then we're gonna leave the solder joint right in the center. So that is now ready for heat shrinking. To do that, I'm gonna be using my solder station heat gun here. This has worked really great for all of my wiring needs as well. It's really convenient. It goes back in its holder and turns off and cools off on its own, and it heats back up really fast as soon as you lift it up. So I'm just gonna give this a second to heat up, And then we're gonna go ahead, and I like to work from the outside in. That way you've locked the wires in place before you start working on melting that center solder piece. So this should be hot enough now to melt the edges. You can see it shrinking onto the plastic. Okay, so now that side has been heat shrinked and waterproofed. Do the same thing to the other side. See, it shrinks on nicely. Okay, so now with the two ends done, I'm gonna go ahead and focus on that center solder band. I like to just hit it from every angle. That way, as the heat shrinks, it also pulls the solder into the wire. And if you notice, you can start seeing that bright silver. That's how you know that the solder has completely liquefied in the center and has joined the two wires together. Now this is a waterproofed connection that is also soldered. All right, now for the side light, like I said, we're gonna be working with the brown wire. This is your ground, so this is actually gonna get tied into the screw that screws onto the trailer. This trailer already has screw holes. I don't know if they're gonna match the stainless screws that I'm going to be using, but these are self-tapping, so if we need to enlarge them a little bit, that won't be a problem either. All right, so first thing I want to do is this already comes ready to go. We already have these pulled back, so I'm going to join the two on the one side. Make sure these are going to fit in the size I have here. Let's see. Yes, these two will fit perfectly. I kind of twist the ends a little bit here just to make it go in the tube easy. Okay, same thing, get it past the blue band. And I'm gonna bring in the brown wire. Push it into the other two. And now that is ready for heat shrink. And again, just heating up the whole piece of heat shrink here. Going to focus on the bottom for the solder. You can see the solder has turned a bright silver, and now we know this connection has been completely soldered through. Give this a second to cool down and firm up. Once this starts to turn opaque instead of completely clear, that's how you can tell that it's cooling down and solidifying. And there we go. That's a nice soldered connection, just like this one. I'm going to push these wires back up into the trailer. You can see on the mount here, there's a cutout for the bottom wire. This is where the bottom brown wire will route through. So it's going to go like that. So you don't actually see the wire. It'll be under it down here. And then this one is going to get attached to the mounting screw. To help this make a good connection with the trailer, I'm actually just going to use a small ring connector that I have. I'm going to use this one here. That way, when I push the screw through, it will make a good connection to the trailer. These are similar and work the same way. These are waterproof ring connectors, and you use your little crimp section on your thing here to crimp it. And then once that's crimped, I'm going to do the same thing and heat shrink it. And then now, hopefully, we can add this to the end of the screw in between the trailer, like that. This wire behind it. All right, so in trying to get the second screw on there, it looks like that this mounting hole was for a different type of side marker light. So I just have to finish drilling this hole out. It was actually doing pretty good with the self-tapper. I went and grabbed my drill bit kit, but let's see if I can just finish it with this. Yep. Okay. All right, and then now this should go on perfect. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and mount up the other side marker real quick, and then I will meet you into the back of the boat where we wire up the rear LED taillights. All right, so with both side markers installed, the last step is to get the two rear taillights on. This, as I said, is the easy and fun part, so let's just get it installed. Only thing you really need to keep in mind with this is that you have a grounding point here, and if you painted your mounts like I did here, even though I didn't do it very well on purpose, You're gonna wanna grind off some of the paint. That way when this gets sandwiched between your stud here and the mount, it's making a connection with the trailer itself. All right, and don't worry about how it looks because this is gonna be completely covered by your tail light. We just wanna make sure we expose some bare metal for the grounding point to connect to. I'm choosing to use the outside one. That way I don't have a bunch of wire sticking out the side. If I cross this under from the bottom and then stick it on, the wire will be hidden behind the tail light. Those both look good. We got the waterproof bands covering the wires on each side. We've got the exposed wire covered up by the solder band in the center. All right, let's see if that's hot enough now. Yep. Once you see that bright silver, you know it's melted through. Beautiful. I'll let that cool down for a sec before I let go. Try to keep them straight. Okay, so now last step, we're gonna go ahead and put our grounding wire on one of the posts. I'm choosing the right one. This is gonna get mounted onto the frame. And bolted on from the back using the included bolts. And then the extra wire can be fed back up into the trailer. And now that we have this complete, I'm gonna go ahead and then knock out the left side real quick, and then we can test this out. And now I'm gonna test this out for the first time on camera. That way, if I have any issues whatsoever, I'll be able to troubleshoot through it with you guys so you can see any common mistakes. I'll go over those once we get to that point. So let me go ahead and throw the one on the left and then we can test them out. I almost forgot. Okay, so the last step of installation is going to be grounding the entire system to the trailer. To do that, I got some penetrating oil on this mounting bolt. This seems to be where the previous owner did it, so we're gonna try that first. Everything stops working if you don't have a good ground. As a matter of fact, that was one of the troubleshooting techniques I was going to go over, is that pretty much anytime your trailer lights aren't working, you gotta check your grounds because it's likely something to do with that. All right, so now I'm gonna go ahead and put this on and get the bolt back on. And I'm gonna try to have this aimed forward because that's the way it's gonna get installed. All right, now that everything's grounded, let's go ahead and plug this up to the truck to see if it works. If so, we'll get this all cleaned up and we'll be done with the trailer lights. Okay, so now I've got this plugged up to the truck. Let's go ahead and try this for the first time and hope for the best. I got my keys here. This is usually the easiest way to do it. We'll start on the back of the boat. We've got both lights hooked up. I'm gonna go ahead and lock. Good, unlock, good. I'm gonna leave the camera back here and I'm gonna try both of the turn signals as well as the running lights. You can see not only the two backlights, but the side marker. That should light up once the lights turn on. About right there, and then we'll see the lights in the back. Also, bonus, I installed that license plate bracket, so there should be a white light that shines down from the bottom. I'm not sure exactly what turns that on. It might be the lights or not, but keep an eye out for that as well. We got the left turn signal. Looks good. Got the right turn signal. Yep, I can see the light flashing. And now I'm going to turn my lights on. And we got side marker lights and a running light in the back. Oh, that's awesome. All right, now I just want to come back and see if that license plate light turned on, and it did. I can see the light on the bottom. Perfect. All right, well, you guys actually saw it better than I did, but all of the lights on the trailer are working exactly as they should. If you go with the kit that I got, they really make it very easy with all color-coded wires. I showed you the process on how you guys can join them together nice and easy, and also how to easily ground everything to your trailer. As I mentioned before, the biggest issue that comes with installing new trailer lights is either breaks in your wiring, if you're reusing the same wiring, or bad ground connections. As long as you grind down a little bit of the paint on your mounts for the back and use your screws as mounting points for the fronts or for the side markers, and you have a really good ground connection up at the plug, you really shouldn't run into any issues. All right, guys, well, now that we have all the lights installed to the trailer, the last thing and most important thing I wanted to work on in doing this trailer restoration is reorienting where the boat sits on the trailer. Now, what I'm trying to accomplish is the same thing that I have on my other boat here, where, as you can see, when the boat is fully trailered, the bunk boards actually stick out a couple inches from the transom. This provides complete support for the transom when you have a motor mounted to it. I've had boats before where the bottom part of the hull, all down here, is bowed up. As you're trailering and driving around, you have your motor on the back, you're bouncing up and down. It's literally bending the aluminum up into your boat. The biggest problem with that is it causes what's called a hook in your hull, where it's actually a concave section on the bottom, which kind of acts as a drag for your boat. If you can see, we have the winch riser and the bow stop. First, I'm going to install the winch riser. I'm going to keep it on there loose so we can adjust it back and forth. Then I'm going to install the winch mount. Finally, I'm going to install the bow stop, and then that will orient everything where it needs to be. At that point, I'll be able to install the new winch, and everything for the boat will be set up exactly as it should. So the U-bolt comes from underneath, and then we're going to get a washer, a lock nut, and a nut. Okay, we're going to do the same thing now with the bow stop and winch mount. This is going to get connected to the front of it here. Based on where the bow roller is going to sit in this, we're going to want this over the hook. I'll adjust it as we get everything installed, but that's the idea I'm going for, is that I want the boat resting on the bow stop. So we got the washer lock nut on the one side. We do the same for the other. All right, let's just get these tightened down now. And then for the sake of testing, we're gonna need this a little bit more firm. Okay, that's good. Let's go ahead and get this last U-bolt on up top. Now this is obviously still pretty loose, but enough that we can start getting everything else put on. Next, I want to put the bow stop on. This will give us a really good idea on how this is all oriented. All right, I didn't go crazy with the grease, just a very thin coating, and I put a little bit on the threads too. That makes sure everything bolts up nice and we don't have any issues taking it off if we need to in the future. And just a little off topic, I don't know about you guys, but I hate when companies put stickers on that peel off like this. Like, you know I'm not gonna want this sticker on my brand new boat roller, so why do you do this to me? All right, I'm not gonna worry about it now. I'll peel this off later. So we're gonna have the washer go in first, and then the bolt, then the center piece. Gonna run this through both of them out the other side, and then washer, and then the bolt's gonna go on the outside. So last but not least, we need to install our new winch. Then I can see how this all orients once it gets installed. Oh boy, okay. This is an absolutely monster winch. Holy moly, this might be a bit overkill for this boat. Nope, I don't think this is gonna fit. It's too big. Okay, so this is the Better Boat winch. This thing is absolutely massive and heavy duty and incredibly well built. I would have absolutely no problem with using this on my big boat and even bigger. Fortunately for me, I had bought this winch to use on a previous build that I never got around to using. So this little 600-pound one will just have to do. Again, more than enough for a Jon Boat. I was really excited to use the Better Boat, but Reese, I've used this on a couple products, even on this trailer so far. I've got no issues with this either. I was just really excited to try out that Better Boat one. And our itty bitty winch compared to the other one I was just looking at. Thankfully, I do believe this is going to, oh God, is this not gonna fit either? What the f? All right, so what I'm gonna do here is I need to drill a new hole for this winch, and then we'll get this installed. That's all I can do at this point. we got our nice drilled hole here. Put this back in position. Fix the winch that I got all tangled up here. There we go. Bolt and washer in place. Okay, so at this point, I have the new hole drilled for the winch. Both bolts are secured and locked in place. We have the bow stop and winch mount in place, and we have the mount riser in place. At this point, the last thing is to tighten it back down, see how it fits on the back of the boat, and we're good to go. All right, so now in its final position, it's gonna pull from the bottom and winch itself onto the bow stop, which is perfect. And then now let's see how the back of the boat looks. Oh yeah, that's much better. I'm really happy with that. I really have no issues whatsoever. The trailer is now officially complete and ready for trailering this boat. I am very, very excited to finally have this done. It feels like a brand new trailer. I may add some graphics down the side of it, just like with the brand name and stuff like that. I might clean up some of the holes on there, but aside from all the little cosmetic stuff, functionally, the trailer is complete. We have new submersible LEDs, new carpeted bunk boards and side bunk boards. We have the whole boat has been sanded down and painted. The hubs have been re-greased. New bearing buddies have been put on. The wheels have been redone. Up at the front, we have the new trailer jack, new winch, and the entire system has been configured to work with this boat in a much more efficient and easier to trailer way. All right, guys, well, it's starting to get warm in the garage, so it's about time I wrapped up this trailer rebuild. Now that this is all complete, I have got a ton of things I am super excited to do for this boat. In the next video related to the Jon Boat build, my focus is getting this ready for some water testing. The main purpose of me wanting to do a water test right now is to really feel out the weight balance. This is going to be a little different than the other boats I've built. It's going to be primarily for a rear tiller setup. So I really want to make sure that where I'm orienting everything works for how the boat balances itself on the water. So if you want to see what I have in store for this Jon Boat, don't forget to subscribe. I got a lot of great videos coming out for this boat and more throughout the year. Aside from the Jon Boat here, I've got a really cool build that I'm going to be trying to do for this boat where I'm extending the deck and changing the seatings to flip up and down seats. That's going to be an awesome build. I just haven't got around to it yet. And then we got to unbox this and see what that's all about. Like I said, a lot of great things coming for the channel. All right, guys, thanks for watching.